Jimmy Kimmel Live. I am Jimmy.
Hollywood actor and comedian Arsenio Hall has built a career out of interviewing celebrities and delving into the intriguing details of their lives. But interestingly enough, his story isn't so well known. He usually keeps his own life private, which is unusual for celebrities of his stature. But guess what? Today we'll be revealing a whole new side to him, a complex man full of emotions and secrets. But before we start, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Arsenio Hall was born on February 12, 1956, to Fred and Annie Hall. The Coming to America actor shared with Newsweek that he was a sports enthusiast throughout his life. He expressed a long-standing desire for his father to join him in watching games as a kid. Regrettably, his father, a minister, was consistently occupied with crafting sermons. Despite the deep love between them, Arsenio made a personal pledge. If he were to have a son, he wouldn't miss the chance to watch games together. As a kid, Arsenio Hall had a few tricks up his sleeve and practiced magic tricks. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for him. Instead of going to magic school, he ended up at Warrensville Heights High School in Ohio, then at Ohio University, where he was on the speech team with future actress Nancy Cartwright and news anchor Leon Harris. Later, he headed to Kent State University, but the real action started in sunny Los Angeles. In 1980, he decided to head out west to try to make it big in the entertainment business. He went for auditions, tried his hand at voice acting, and worked on perfecting his stand-up comedy skills.
See, that's why Snoop Doggy Dogg got vaccinated 200 times.
Through his hard work, he was even able to score himself a few small gigs at comedy shows. It was a pretty exciting time for him and essentially kick-started his career. One night in 1981, while he was hanging out outside the Los Angeles Improv Comedy Club, his buddy Keenan Ivory Wayans introduced him to the one and only Eddie Murphy. According to the sources, when they first met, they spent the night at his place and chatted till the early hours of the morning. They became good friends despite having completely different temperaments. Eddie was known for being a bit wild, loving to throw parties at his place in Bubble Hill, while Arsenio was much more reserved and preferred more intimate settings. Still, the dynamic worked. Arsenio even featured in a few of Eddie's projects, but soon Arsenio would come to have a few projects of his own. Back in 1986, the Fox network came up with a show called The Late Show starring Joan Rivers. Their goal was to challenge the famous Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. It was a big deal, and people were curious to see what would happen. Fun fact, Joan Rivers and Johnny Carson fell out because of this rivalry. Anyway, they kicked it off, and it had a decent start, but after a while, the show's ratings started to dwindle. To make matters worse, Joan Rivers, the show's host, wasn't exactly best friends with the Fox network executives. Things got frosty between them, and guess what? Joan Rivers decided to call it quits in 1987. She said, "I'm out of here." And that's when the show's name got a makeover, becoming The Late Show. They had a bunch of different folks taking the hot seat, like Ross Schaefer, Suzanne Summers, Sean Thompson, Richard Belzer, and Robert Townsend. It was like a revolving door, and nothing seemed to stick. But then, in the fall of 1987, they brought in Arsenio Hall, and things started to get interesting. His stint as the host became super popular, especially with the younger crowd. I mean, they were loving it. They had this unique thing going on where the audience didn't just clap. They chanted woof, woof, woof while pumping their fist. It's like they had their secret handshake or something.
Thank you, yeah! That's beautiful music to my ears.
This woof thing became so famous that it even showed up in movies like Pretty Woman, Passenger 57, Aladdin, and The Hard Way. Can you believe it? The show got so successful that Arsenio Hall developed a bit of a rivalry with Jay Leno when the latter took over The Tonight Show. He even said he kicked Jay's ass in the ratings. You know, a bit of friendly competition, right? That never hurt anyone. Being in the Hollywood limelight meant he always ran into gorgeous, eligible women. One of his notable relationships was with Paula Abdul. In an interview, Arsenio revealed that she was an absolute blast to hang out with. Arsenio Hall originally extended a hand of friendship to Paula Abdul when she needed someone to confide in. The word on the street is that he understood the struggles of showbiz, having been there himself. So, one conversation led to another, and but as the story goes, Paula and Arsenio didn't last, and she ended up with Full House actor John Stamos. That's quite the switch. Hollywood relationships can be so unpredictable. After their breakup, Madonna appeared as a guest on Arsenio's talk show. The Queen of Pop teased the talk show host by asking clever questions about his relationship with Paula Abdul, saying, "Arsenio, are you jealous of John Stamos? I mean, I want to know how it feels to be dumped for John Stamos." Naturally, Arsenio tried to laugh it off, but Madonna didn't relent. Still, the comedian tried to clear the air by saying, "What she's talking about is, for those of you who don't know, there was a rumor of me and Paula Abdul dating, and then, I guess, Paula showed up at the Grammys with John Stamos and it was a full house, so I couldn't go." But that's not all. Arsenio Hall's love life has had its fair share of gossip. He was even linked to Brooke Shields at one point. But speaking with the Washington Post, he admitted he was married to his career, and that was his main squeeze. He also mentioned how people always pushed him to get hitched, travel, and live a thrilling life, but none of that tickled his fancy. It was just showbiz for him. And if that's not enough, some rumors suggested that he was secretly in a relationship with Eddie. And once again, Madonna, having been invited as a guest on the show, dug deep and asked the questions that the people really wanted to know. "What about Eddie Murphy?" Arsenio sarcastically retorted, "What about him? Did I pull his tights down too?" Despite Arsenio's attempts to wiggle his way out of Madonna's press, she coyly nodded, saying, "Yes, I heard you did." Arsenio once again tried to laugh it off, but Madonna persisted. "No, seriously, there's a rumor and I want to know about it." Being one of the biggest pop stars in the world, Madonna is naturally subjected to several rumors. So when Arsenio Hall fired back, it should have been as no surprise to her. "Well, there's a rumor about you and Sandra Bernhard, but I didn't ask you about that." And the crowd went wild. But let's revisit his relationship with Eddie Murphy. It all started with a chance meeting outside the Improv in Los Angeles, thanks to mutual friend Keenan Ivory Wayans. According to Arsenio, it was an unforgettable moment. They hit it off instantly, talking into the early morning hours. Arsenio even called Eddie the brother he never had. They were inseparable, sharing everything, even their deepest secrets. There is no competition, just pure support and love.
He was the prince. I'd be out in the club and this African dude would roll up and say, "I am the real prince."
They weren't just industry friends. Can you believe they're still going strong after 4 decades? Who would have thought there would have been a coming to America? When it comes to Arsenio Hall's personal life, it's shrouded in mystery, much like his friendship with Eddie Murphy. He's never been engaged and kept his relationships under wraps. Even on the topic of his sexuality, he's never made a public statement. Back in the day, he stirred some controversy by refusing to have gay guests on his show, which got some folks riled up. In an interview with Logo TV, he expressed frustration with Queer Nation protesters and believed that coming out as gay could harm entertainers' careers. It's a puzzling choice to keep his life private, being in the public eye, but everyone's entitled to privacy. Now, with Eddie Murphy, it's a whole different story. He's been open about his relationships with different women. His romantic history includes a romance with Whitney Houston, 5 children with ex-wife Nicole Murphy, and kids with exes like Paulette McNeely, Tamara Hood, and Melanie Brown. Let's just say he's been around the block, then back around again. These days, he's settled with his fiancée, Paige Butcher, with whom he shares 2 children. They're all about family. Arsenio found love too. He had a romantic relationship with his former manager, Cheryl Bonacci. They didn't get married, but they had a son, Arsenio Hall Jr. Unfortunately, Arsenio and Cheryl's relationship didn't last long, but she understood how important it was for him to bond with his son based on his childhood experiences. As a result, this led Arsenio Sr. to make an interesting choice in his career. He turned down several opportunities because he didn't want to be away from his son for extended periods. He explained, "In Hollywood, as in any business, the calls stop coming when you don't answer." This allowed him to spend quality time with his son. As promised, they watched sports together and even The Apprentice USA. In a heartwarming twist in their story, Arsenio Jr. even encouraged his father to participate in The Celebrity Apprentice, which Arsenio Sr. ended up winning. Arsenio Sr. has since reflected on his decision to prioritize being a dad, saying, I think I can finally juggle the dad thing and the work thing all at the same time. Something I know mothers do every day. I'm happy I chose to be there for my son, to watch all the games with my son, and now I just hope people still want me to make them laugh. As for Arsenio Jr., he released his debut EP, The Fulcrum, in 2022. Apart from that, his personal life is pretty low-key, and there's no news of any relationships. He's believed to be single. So, what do you think about Arsenio Hall's balancing act between work and family? Have you ever had to make a similar choice in your own life? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell for more celebrity stories.